Brothers and sisters, we've been speaking a little bit in the last while off and on about, what happens in confession and the importance of meeting Christ in the sacrament. That we go to the sacrament and the Lord has instituted this primary way of dispensing his grace and his mercy and really his resurrection power, especially if a soul has fallen into mortal sin. It's nothing short of a resurrection that brings that soul back to true life in God and through the power of the church, which is really the power of Christ, because he's one with the church and sheds his grace through her on earth. And one of the ways that we go to confession is very humbling experience. And Christ knows this. He's a genius in terms of knowing what we need. In humbling ourselves before someone, we not only realize with more clarity the seriousness of our sin or those obstacles that are standing in the way between us and God's love and really receiving that love. But also sin has an effect of alienating us, making us feel alone or exaggerating it sometimes in our own mind. And so confessing before a priest, really before the Lord himself in the priest, is a way of really coming back to light and to sobriety even over one's sins, but also is a very humbling experience, and one realizes that one is not alone. I mean, the modern, in the last while, the drive for psychologists and therapy, which is very important, and really these are gifts when they're good and they're not contrary to the revelation of God and his natural laws. Are great gifts given to us to help us in our journey, and they should not be looked down upon by the faithful, but rather they could be used. However, they do not replace at the end of the day the spiritual life and the life of prayer, which often are the real antidotes that go to the root of the problem. And our counseling and our human development and the insights from sociology and psychology that are good certainly help. But at the end of the day, sin is sin, and sin has an effect upon the mind and upon the heart, and it has an effect on blurring out the light of God, and therefore makes us live in a certain darkness, which often one doesn't realize they're living in darkness till they've seen a most beautiful sunset again and light, and their memories awaken to what it was like to live with God, or if they were in darkness for so long, they could just get so accustomed to where they're at. And this is why the Lord has to send trials to prick the conscience, to wake up the mind and heart, to stir and to long for something greater than what they already have and what they think they're satisfied with. And so this whole idea of confession is very powerful, and it's very important that we don't treat the sacrament as a magic formula, that I just go to the sacrament, the Lord, through the priest, the Lord gives the words of absolution, and therefore I'm clean. There's an effect from the sacrament, but it also depends on me. It depends on the right dispositions of heart, that I am really open to receive it. So for example, if somebody goes to confession and really has no real will, no desire to live the chaste life before marriage, that has no desire to really forgive or to let go of that resentment or whatever family situation, or no real desire to give up the contraception that is blocking life, no real desire, no active decision to remedy the situation, then absolution is in one sense pointless, because our will is not turned towards God, and that is obstinate and is stubborn. And sometimes in these cases and you could list all the moral situations, about how God has revealed the ways for us to live so that we could really live in the light. And so if we don't ask God for the grace for real contrition and real faith, a loving faith, not just to know God, but to love him and to love his commands above all things. So therefore to hate and despise those things that rob me from union with him, and these ways that I live that rob me from further intimacy with him, then if I don't have that real faith in the sacrament, then the sacrament has little effect in my life. And therefore, in that case, a priest can withhold absolution if he knows the person has no real desire to amend their life, because it's pointless to give absolution, you could say, because they have no desire to no, they might think they're sorry, but being sorry means putting something in place to change the situation. Yes, we might fall again, and yes, we're weak, but that's a separate issue. It's to really remedy the situation, and part of that is contrition, to detest what the situation is, and to therefore to go forward and decide to stop the sin and to do what is in one's power to stop it. And then on top of that, then to make reparation by restitution for what we have done wrong, to make up for that. And so in this case, then we receive the fullness of the grace.